The Eiffel Tower. It is probably the most recognized structure on Earth, but how much do we really know about it? Beyond the postcard view, this iron giant hides a history of fierce scandals, incredible engineering, and tragic daredevils. Today, we aren't just looking at the steel. We are diving deep into the archives to see the first reactions of Parisians. Uncover original newspaper ads from 1889, meet Gustave Eiffel himself, and even witness the shocking moment one daredevil tried to conquer the tower with a self-made parachute. Let's get right into it. For the entire world, the 300-meter-tall Eiffel Tower is the ultimate symbol of Paris, not to mention the most visited and photographed landmark on the planet. The design was chosen from hundreds of entries for the 1889 World's Fair, which celebrated the centennial of the French Revolution. It took Gustave Eiffel and his team of 50 engineers and 300 workers less than 2 years to pull off this miracle of engineering. They assembled it from 18,000 iron parts, held together by 2.5 million rivets. Amazingly, during the entire construction, there wasn't a single fatal accident. Those came later, after the project was finished, when daredevils wanted to either parachute off the tower or fly an airplane right under it. We actually have incredible archival footage of one of those early attempts from 1912, featuring an Austrian tailor named Franz Reichelt, who wanted to test his self-made parachute suit. The city authorities gave him permission, fully expecting him to use a dummy, but at the last second, he put the suit on and jumped himself. Because it was an official test, cameras were rolling, making this shocking video one of the very first and most famous fatal accidents ever captured on film, as he sadly plunged to his death right before the crowd. Interestingly enough, the tower wasn't actually invented by Eiffel himself. The original concept was created by Maurice Koechlin and later joined by Émile Nouguier. But Gustave Eiffel, seen here in this rare archival clip, took charge of securing the patent, managing the construction, and handling the complex engineering. Even the tower's aesthetic look was the work of another architect. But it was Eiffel who put up his own money to fund nearly half of the construction costs. He was truly a brilliant engineer of his time. His company built the Grand Railway Station in Budapest and the famous Maria Pia Bridge in Porto. On top of that, it was Eiffel who designed the interior metal framework for the Statue of Liberty in New York. True, his career wasn't completely free of drama. His involvement in the Panama Canal project ended up in a massive court case. But he was ultimately acquitted. None of this stopped him from going down in history as one of the most famous engineers of the 19th century. The Eiffel Tower was built to amaze. It offers an incredible view of Paris from a height that previously only birds could see. Look at this archival footage of the very first crowds arriving, eager to experience this spectacular panorama. The tower opened on March 31st, 1889, and in those very first months, up to 12,000 people climbed it every single day. The advertising was everywhere, like these original newspaper clippings from 1889 promoting the new wonder. Today, that number is even higher, with around 7 million tourists from all over the world visiting every year. For the thrill seekers out there, you might want to know that there's an annual race to climb the stairs. The men's record is just over 8 minutes, and the women's is around 10. Gustave Eiffel installed exactly 1,710 steps. He climbed them himself on opening day to raise the French flag, proudly stating that France would be the only country with a 300-meter flagpole. Like most structures built for a World's Fair, the Eiffel Tower was supposed to be dismantled, according to the contract, after just 20 years. However, Eiffel suggested using it as a meteorological and aerodynamic laboratory. Plus, he built a private apartment for himself at the very top. He didn't actually live there, but he used it to entertain famous guests like Thomas Edison. And naturally, a spectacular tower needed spectacular views, so visitors could enjoy a meal in the fancy restaurants right at the top, as shown in these early images. What completely saved it from being torn down, though, was the installation of radio and television antennas in the 1920s. By the way, the Eiffel Tower is one of the most valuable landmarks in the world, with an estimated worth of over 400 billion euros. To keep it looking like $1 billion, it gets a fresh coat of paint every 7 years, which takes about 60 tons of paint. Right now, it's painted in a custom shade called Eiffel Tower Brown, a patented color designed to mimic the natural hue of bronze. But over its lifetime, the color has changed multiple times, ranging from bright yellow to a deep red-brown. We actually climbed the tower during some heavy winds, and it really felt like it was swaying. But don't worry, that's just a trick of the mind. The tower doesn't really care about the wind. Even the fiercest storms can only deflect the top by about 12 centimeters. Believe it or not, the sun actually has a much bigger impact. The side facing the sun expands in the heat, causing the top of the tower to tilt away by up to 18 centimeters. And now, if you want the absolute best view of the Eiffel Tower, you head over to Trocadéro Square. This is where it looks most majestic, reflecting beautifully in the waters of the Seine. The Palais de Chaillot, which towers over the square, was built for yet another World's Fair, this time in 1937, showcasing the trendy Art Deco style of the era. Before it, a very pompous structure called the Trocadéro Palace stood here. And even earlier, back in the 16th century, this land belonged to Queen Catherine de' Medici and was named after the local village of Chaillot. Today, this palace is a massive cultural hub, housing some of the most fascinating museums in Paris, alongside theaters, exhibitions, and modern dance festivals. Not many people know this, but the grand terrace in front of the palace is called Human Rights Square. It was right here in 1948 that the United Nations adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The square is surrounded by beautiful gardens, and right in the center is the Warsaw Fountain Cascade, one of the largest fountains in Paris, though it isn't always running. This spot is also the perfect place to watch the evening light show. Every hour after sunset, the Eiffel Tower sparkles with thousands of lights for exactly 5 minutes, with the final show of the night depending on the season. To get from the Trocadéro Gardens over to the tower, you'll walk right across the Pont d'Iéna, the iconic bridge built by Napoleon that we talked about recently. By the way, if you missed our episode on Napoleon's bridges, the link is right up on the screen. Once you cross the bridge, you find yourself on the Champ de Mars. Back in 1751, by order of Louis XV, the military school, or École Militaire, was opened right next to this field to train young boys from poor, noble families. This is the exact school that a young Napoleon Bonaparte graduated from. Opposite the building was a vast, empty field, which they decided to use as a military drilling ground, naming it after Mars, the Roman god of war. Over time, this field saw much more than just military parades. In August 1783, the very first hydrogen balloon in Paris was launched from here. Later, in 1791, it became the site of a tragic event when a peaceful political demonstration turned violent. By the 19th century, the Champ de Mars became a venue for patriotic festivals, and in 1867, it was used for the World's Fair for the first time. Over its 270-year history, the face of the Champ de Mars has completely changed. Today, it's a beautiful public park, perfect for a relaxing stroll. Fun fact, Paris has about 250 parks and gardens, and they say there are actually more dogs living in Paris than children. If you spend an afternoon on the Champ de Mars, you'll definitely see exactly what they mean. It's amazing how a place that started as a military drilling ground ended up becoming one of the most relaxing parks in the world, right next to Paris's greatest icon. Our journey through this city continues, and in the next videos, we're going to explore even more legendary places that you definitely won't want to miss. So, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for the upcoming episodes. Also, drop a comment below and let me know your favorite fact about the Eiffel Tower from today's story. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.